Hi, this video will show some of the new features around multiple cursors and multiple selections that were added to brackets in Release 38. Multiple selections are a great way to quickly make similar edits in lots of different places at once. They're useful for things like quickly renaming a variable or inserting the same text in multiple places. There are a few ways to create multiple selections. First, you can drag out multiple cursors by holding down Alt and then dragging up or down. Once you have multiple cursors, anything you type will appear at each cursor. You can also create multiple cursors using the keyboard with Alt-Shift-Up and Alt-Shift-Down. Similarly, you can create a rectangular or column selection by holding down Alt and then dragging a rectangle. You can type to replace all of the selected content. You can also add a selection by holding down the Command key on Mac or the Control key on Windows and making another selection. This is useful when the things you want to select aren't necessarily lined up. Once you have a multiple selection, most navigation commands and edits will apply to each cursor or range selection. There are a few exceptions like code hints and quick edit which only operate on the last selection you made. This is called the primary selection. So in this example, if I make multiple selections here, you can see that quick edit only applies to the last selection. If you make a mistake while creating a multiple selection, you can use the new undo selection command. Let's say I didn't want this last selection added. I can hit Control-U or Command-U to undo that last selection. This command isn't specific to multiple selections. It actually works for single selections too, so it's a handy way to jump back to previous selection locations as you navigate around your file. You can also use Command-Shift-U or Control-Shift-U to redo selections. Finally, to cancel a multiple selection, like in this case, I can hit Escape and you can see that it collapsed it down to the last selection. In addition to all these ways of creating multiple selections, there are some useful commands that tie them in with search. So in this example, I want to rename this parameter, which is called name. I can hit Control-B or Command-B to select the next instance and add it to the multiple selection. I can do it again to select the next instance, but that one's actually wrong, so I want to skip it, and I can use Control-Shift-B or Command-Shift-B to do that. Finally, I hit Command-B again to select the last instance, and then I can just type the new name. I can also use Alt-F3 on Windows or Command-Control-G on the Mac to select all instances of the current word or selection in the entire file. And then I could type over it, for example, to rename all these instances. Now, of course, as with any global operation, you want to make sure that all of the things that were selected are actually things that you want to replace. So that was a quick introduction to these new multiple selection features in brackets. We hope you like them and would love to hear your feedback. Thanks a lot.